Hey everybody, let's talk about transition words and phrases. First of all, what is their purpose? They help ideas flow more smoothly in an essay, and more specifically, they indicate relationships between ideas. They introduce ideas, they show cause and effect, they continue ideas from one to the next. They show chronological order, in other words, they sort ideas based on time, and they indicate concluding statements by the author. You'll want to familiarize yourself with each purpose so that you can choose the correct transition word on the exam. If you can recognize the ideas that the author wants to connect, then you can choose the correct transition word. On the reading test, use your knowledge of transition words to improve your comprehension of each passage. This recognition helps you understand the author's argument very quickly and helps you improve your score. So let's start with transition words that provide introduction. These introduce a new idea. For example, initially, I found it difficult to deal with my new environment. Another type, transition words for cause and effect. These indicate that the first thought, number one, led to the second thought. As a result, because of, due to. You'll only use these transition words when one thought leads to the next. For example, Brian is funny, therefore he makes you laugh. Do you see how this idea in connection with this transition word leads us naturally to this statement? All right, let's look at the next type. Transition words for continuation. Use these to add additional examples or further explore a related idea. So some examples of transition words for continuation would be along the same lines, also, by the same token, furthermore. And let's look at this example. In addition to washing the car, Robert also mowed the lawn. The whole report is badly written. Moreover, it's inaccurate. Let's look at another type. Transition words for contradiction or contrast. This is a great set to understand because they indicate a contradiction, or a change in an idea. Is the author highlighting a contrasting idea or detail? If so, they will use these transition words. Although she loves winter landscapes, she wants to take a trip to Hawaii. Notice how this idea we start with cold and now we're in hot. And it's because of this transition word that we moved from one to the next. Although, as opposed to, conversely, these sets of transition words are inserted between different ideas in order to create contrast. Transition words that move us from general to specific. The template here is statement A, for example, statement B. Let's look at some examples. I can play quite a few musical instruments, for example, the flute, the guitar, and the piano. Notice how we go from a general statement here, a few musical instruments, to more specific instruments that are each named. Another example, my father loves going to restaurants which serve exotic food. For instance, last week he went to a restaurant which serves deep-fried rattlesnake. So first, the general statement, exotic food, and then the more specific, deep-fried rattlesnake. Let's look at another type. Transition words for chronological order. Use the transition words below to sort ideas based on time. Now you're sort of familiar with these when you tell stories. Before, first, after, then. Before my birthday, I always get excited. I remember the preparations, the journey, and finally, the arrival in Spain. Transition words for conclusions. Now these indicate a summary statement or that the author, in other words, the author is making a conclusion. In summary, all government departments are administered rather differently. The treaty negotiations were a success. Thus, Europe was at peace for the first time in many years. In essence, both sides agree on the issue. It's very helpful to recognize concluding transition words because they help us recognize when the author is tying up or wrapping up an idea. Now let's look at an example question. Every day thereafter, I ate breakfast with the two of them, so we'd all go our separate ways for the day. Now the transition word in question here is so. Now we can remember that first, identify the main ideas surrounding the transition word. Here's the first idea. I ate breakfast with the two of them. And then the second one comes afterward. We'd all go our separate ways for the day. So let's begin by testing the answer choices, beginning with choice A, no change. I ate breakfast with the two of them, so we'd all go our separate ways for the day. Well, so is a cause and effect transition word. One would cause the other. Is that the case? Would eating breakfast cause everyone to go separate ways? No, idea 1 does not cause. Idea 2. Eating breakfast does not cause them to part ways. And so the next step would be to eliminate all cause and effect transition words. So A is not correct, and neither is B or C, because recognizing that since and therefore choices B and C are cause and effect transition words, then we must eliminate them as well. That leaves us with choice D, but it's always good to test to make sure it makes sense. Choice D is one that arranges the statements in chronological order. Does that make sense? I ate breakfast with the two of them, then we'd all go our separate ways for the day. This does make sense. Let's look at it all together. Every day thereafter, I ate breakfast with the two of them. Then we'd all go our separate ways for the day. So choice D is correct. Let's recap. The purpose of transition words is to introduce, to show cause and effect, to show continuation, chronological order, and to indicate conclusions. If you recognize the ideas that are being connected, you can then choose the correct transition word.